All right, we're back in the movie theater parking lot. It's Thursday night, so Thursday night previews. I just got out of seeing The Strangers Chapter 2, and I have to say, I wasn't the biggest fan of the first Strangers, or I should say The Strangers Chapter 1. The original The Strangers from 2012, I think, that I very much liked. Chapter 1, though, kind of felt it was a bit of a rehash of that film, but a little less inspired and really just not as good in a lot of ways. I have to say, this film is definitely an improvement over Chapter 1. I don't know if I necessarily like it more than the original still, but it had some really good moments. I really like slasher films when they have a scene in a hospital, like Halloween 2, for example. There's many others, but yeah, that was a really great sequence. But the film is also just non-stop. There's a lot of good set pieces, a lot of cool locations and stuff. It's not anything you haven't seen before, I wouldn't say. It's not like a wholly original film. It definitely wears its inspirations on its sleeve, if that makes sense. It's very inspired by Halloween and Friday the 13th. There's some spooky stuff in here, though. There's a couple of cheap jump scares that got me, but really the scariest stuff is when one of the main strangers who's wielding an axe is running at the lead, and there were some really tense sequences in this film. Basically, the main character, the lead, is just running the whole movie. I don't know the name of the lead actress, but I think she did a really good job, the redhead. She did a good job in the first film as well, and she definitely continues to do a great job here. All of the strangers are pretty creepy. Another thing, I didn't really remember the first film very well. It was pretty forgettable in my opinion, but I think I remembered enough to understand what was happening here and kind of keep the story going. There's some really good use of like colored lights in this movie too. It's not overly done to where it feels like a techno neon horror show or anything like that, but again, in the hospital sequence, there's some red exit signs and stuff like that, and the light hitting people looks really good. Yeah, I guess I don't have too much to say about this one other than it felt like the first film, but vastly improved and much more interesting in terms of the locations and many more tense sequences. It feels much more fast-paced. Yeah, everything is just dialed up a little bit in this one, and I liked that about it. It still had some kind of dumb moments like the Chapter 1. There's some flashback sequences where it's one of the characters' childhoods, and it was ultimately pointless. I mean, I get the point of it, I get why the scene is in the movie and stuff, and I get the reveal, but I will say this, the film ended on a hard to be continued, which I really appreciated actually. I thought it was kind of ballsy. And the third film is already shot, I guess, because if you wait until after the mid-credit scene, you'll see like a brief little teaser for the third film, which looked very interesting. I don't want to spend any time talking about that because I want to focus on the actual movie. I just want to say they showed some stuff in that teaser where I was like, wait, what? I'm totally here for it. Going back to the second film though, Richard Brake is here. And I love to see him in literally anything. He was great in this. He's used sparingly, but I assume he's going to be in the third film as well, so I'm very ready for that. There are some kills in this movie. It's not a super high body count slasher, and it's also not overly gory, but honestly, I didn't miss any of those things. There's some really brutal, painful looking sequences in this film where you see a character just getting hurt really bad, and that made me wince. So yeah, some people who are like gore hounds, who are really into slasher films, they might feel this is lacking in that department. But I thought that was kind of one of the film's strengths, was that it didn't rely on that. There was just some genuinely good tension and some genuinely brutal moments, of just people getting really fucked up. So I feel like a good thriller. I think this will definitely have enough for you here to keep you entertained. I gotta say, this one kind of surprised me. When we started this new trilogy of films, these new Stranger films, my expectations and my hype was like way down here, after seeing the first one. But after seeing this one, it's kind of like up here now, and I'm genuinely interested in seeing the third one. I really can't wait. I don't know if there's a release date yet. I don't know when it'll be. I assume next year, maybe next summer, if they're anticipating it's going to do well. I hope it doesn't get canceled. I hope this film at least does well enough for them to warrant releasing it. That would be really sad if we got 2 movies in and then they just shit can the third one, so that way they could save $1 or something. They don't have to spend the money to market it, even if it's already shot. They also could probably get like a tax write-off or something if they just don't release the movie. So studios have done it before, so we'll see what happens. But I do find it odd. They're strangely committed to this trilogy. Even after Chapter 1 wasn't well received at all. They're just like stuck by their guns and we're like, no, we're gonna do this trilogy. Like, we have a full vision. So yeah, maybe after the third film, I'll retroactively go back to the first one and be like, oh, this is actually pretty good. Like, once the whole story is complete, you know, it would be like a cool trilogy of films. That would be really nice. Maybe we'll have a new fun horror trilogy to watch every Halloween or something like that, or just when you feel like showing someone. It already feels a little bit more thought out than David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy. It feels like they had a really good idea for that first Halloween film and they didn't really have an idea for 2 and 3. They just kind of made it up as they went along. I think they actually had a whole story planned out when they started this. I know, that's crazy. Who does that? Not saying that I liked the first Strangers film more than the first Halloween film, because that's not true. I actually like 2018 Halloween more than Strangers Chapter 1, but it's quickly diminishing returns for that franchise, and this series seems to be getting better, so that's interesting. But yeah, on Letterboxd, I gave Strangers Chapter 1 only 2 stars. This, I would give at least 3 stars. I'm teetering on 3.5, but you know, there is kind of some dumb moments in there that brings the film down a little bit for me. It took me out of it a little bit. Go check it out. You know, who would have thought this movie would actually be half decent? So that's cool. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna get out of the parking lot now. But yeah, see you guys next time.